Leadership is something we all know is important. I mean, it sounds great on resumes and job interviews, but I think we can all feel that it goes deeper than that. If you're unable to lead properly, it's not only going to affect that one job interview, it can also easily affect your income, your relationships, your ability to lead a family, your sports, your hobbies, and how you were viewed in society. Now, I'm not trying to scare you or add any more stress to your life. In fact, we here at the Think Your Way to an Epic Life team are already proud of you and know that you are going to absolutely kill it because unlike most of the population, you are already working on fixing your knowledge gap. Now, in this podcast, host Kara Shug interviews guest David Roybal. Now, David Roybal is absolutely knocking leadership out of the park in all of the areas we previously mentioned. And best of all, he's willing to share with us how, so we don't have to try and reinvent the wheel. So get out your popcorn and your notes, and let's get into this.
Hey everybody, welcome to a very special edition of Think Your Way to an Epic Life. And you'll notice that today we're in a really cool setting, but that's because my podcast guest, which has been on the podcast twice now, this is his second time, David Roybal, has opened up his studio to us. David, welcome to the show again.
Hey, thank you, Kara. I appreciate it. Yeah, we're just in the beginning stages of trying to make our spot look cool. But we worked on the inside of the office first, got that all done, and now we're making our way back into our studio. So hopefully the next time we do something cool like this, it'll be completely different. But this is our first start.
All right. Well, see, we get to be the very first one, and that is always good luck.
For sure. You are the first person that I've done a podcast with inside this space. So feels good.
All right. So, David, we got to spend a lot of time together just recently.
Yeah.
And we talked about so many things that I'm just like, please come back on the podcast, because I really feel like we are lacking leadership horribly in America right now.
Right.
And you are someone that I respect as an incredible leader. So I just want to baby steps, right? Because I've told my people, you need to be a leader. You need to step up. How? How do we start? So let's just start with somebody it doesn't matter what business they're in,
sure,
but they know they need to be a leader and they're not doing it. How do they get going?
Well, I think it really starts with wrapping your head around actually wanting to do it, right? So for me, it took me a really long time. It probably took me about 14 years to really understand what I wanted next in my life in terms of leadership, right? Because for a really long time, I didn't want to be anything but myself. I just wanted to be an individual agent. I've always had assistants and things like that, so I have been leading people. Obviously, I have a couple kids, so I am leading my family. But as far as from a business perspective, I think you kind of have to wrap your head around it, especially right now. I've noticed that there's a lot of people who think that they want to, we'll use real estate as an example, who want to grow a team. And then they don't really necessarily have the leadership skills or the focus on actually how to do it, because it does take a lot of time, a lot of energy, and a lot of effort. And it was a very big, it was an ego check for me, actually, because I've always been the guy. I've always been the person that was selling the house, marketing the house, going and showing the house, going and listing the house. And now I have a team of people that work for inside of our group, right, that they all have their own role. So it's taken me really, I would say, about 9 years to really wrap my head around what leadership looks like. The last 5-6 years, I've really dug into being on the backside of production, right? Especially in the real estate business, because I've always been used to being, the main person selling. And now I'm letting a lot of people do that, and I'm kind of reaping the benefits of that. And I am also very happy that they're doing it, because it's like I'm the papa now.
And you really are. And you do treat people that way. And that's what I want to get to. We're going to talk about some of your big mistakes too, I hope.
Sure.
I hope you're willing to go there. And I know you are, because you were incredibly vulnerable on stage when we were in Dallas this week. So let's go back to the beginning. What are some of the lessons that you learned from, that was not the best move?
Right.
In leadership.
In leadership, right. So I think as a good leader, at least my mindset is you got to constantly be trying a bunch of different things, right? And sometimes when I'm running a team or when I'm talking to my team, sometimes we'll start one thing and 3-4 months in, we're shifting into something else, right? And so I think as a good leader, you have to constantly be evolving. You have to constantly be trying things. Sometimes you're going to hit a home run. Sometimes you're going to have a system and a model that you've created that you'll use forever. I have some simple systems that I've created since the beginning of my career that I still consistently use today, right? And then there's a bunch of stuff that I tried, didn't work, that I tried, didn't work. But I think you got to continue to keep trying, continue to keep pushing. Because if you're not, then you're becoming stagnant, and then you're not stepping up, then you're not elevating, then you're not trying to get to that next level and kind of unlock that next level, right? And so I think it's a lot of that. I think it's a lot of people that you surround yourself with, right? I think it's a lot of things that you're reading. The last couple of years, I've really gotten into reading. I've really gotten my mind around actually reading, not necessarily just listening to podcasts or listening to Audible, but actually sitting down and reading and grasping exactly what they're saying through a book. So it's been really cool.
What a big change.
Yeah.
I'm not there. I'm like Audible all the way, all the time.
Right.
And now you carve out time to sit down. And I can't even imagine you sitting and reading.
Well, I have to have a specific routine, right?
Okay.
So the routine that I have is that I have to wake up. This is my routine. It's really interesting because Maddox, one of my stepson, he's my stepson. He is really focused on wanting to get more shots in at the gym, right? So he's been begging me to take him to the gym at 5 o'clock. That's my morning routine. So I'll wake up right at 5, and then as soon as I wake up, I'll fill up my can, and I'll go and grab my book, and I'll sit down. I'm not a fast reader. It really takes me probably 30 minutes to get through 10 pages of a book. My goal is 10 pages a day, right? And so Maddox, as soon as I woke up this morning, like around 5:10, 5:15, he jumped up. He kept bugging me last night, can you please take me to the gym, right? And then this morning, I took him to the gym with me. And it was really interesting because there was all of these people inside the gym working out. There was a big class. And there was a 9-year-old kid shooting hoops at 6 o'clock in the morning, right? And so that was really cool for me to see, for me to watch. But I think you got to wrap your head around, do you want to do it, right? And so for me, no one's forcing me to do it. So I just had to make that mindset and that shift of, okay, if I want to read, I don't have a ton of time, right? If I want to go to the gym, I need to make sure that I wake up at 5, read by 5:30, slam my coffee, and I'm in my car by 5:45, and I'm at the gym by 6, right? So get to the gym, work out, 45 minutes. If I can hit it hard for 45 minutes, I'm okay with that, right? 45 minutes, hour tops, get back in the car, drive back home, pick the kids up, take them to school, then I'm back at home, right? So by the time I'm at home, it's about 8:45, and I've already gone to the gym, already read my book. I'm probably 2 to 3 cans in. I'm trying to hit at least a gallon a day on the water. And I'm already that far ahead by 8:45, which then allows me to have a little bit of time to eat, a little bit of time to catch up with Delilah, a little bit of time to do my thing as far as getting ready. And then my goal is to try to be inside the office by no later than 10 o'clock.
Wow. Okay, guys. So I love that you're not sugarcoating, candy coating. Anybody can be this successful.
Right.
Most people aren't willing to do half of that.
Right.
How did you get there? It couldn't have been instant.
Well, I have done a program called 75 Hard now for 4 years in a row, the fourth quarter of the year every year. That's my kickstart. That's my jumpstart to kind of get me focused, right? And so every year that I do it, I kind of set myself back and I reward myself by having a drink, reward myself for completing it by, eating a pizza or having a bad meal, right? And you gotta take things in moderation, and I do. But this time around, I had to make it a lifestyle. I had to say, okay, if I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna put myself through this crazy 75 days, why don't I just continue to keep doing it continue to keep thinking about it. And so my goal this year is that I'm going to go for 1 year sober, right? I'm not going to drink for one entire year, which I'm including that 75 days. And I don't know how much I'm into it. What I'm realizing is that I don't want to track my days anymore, right? I don't need the app to make me fill it out and say, hey, did you take your photo? Did you drink your water? Like, I'm just making it a lifestyle. I'm making sure that I do it. And honestly, I've pretty much been doing it the exact same way. I've had a couple of days off, but I've had, for the most part, I've been doing the routine every single day. Even when we were in Dallas, right? I was up at 5 o'clock. I was at the gym. I was ready to go before I had the opportunity to get on stage. So, yeah.
So no matter what. And in order to to be a genuinely great leader, you have to have integrity with yourself.
Right.
And I think most people miss that. That's integrity. Everyone knows the definition of integrity, but it goes further. Integrity is doing what you say you'll do for you.
Sure. Well, and I think too, right, you look at some of the people that you want to be like or you look up to, and all of the things that I've been reading and listening to lately it is about health. It is about having yourself right first. Because if I go into a meeting, or if I go into an opportunity, or if I'm having a conversation with my kid and my mindset or my health or my focus isn't there, then I'm probably not going to give the best advice. Or I'm not going to give them the attention that I need and that they need in order for me to actually give them the right proper information and or advice, So sure. It's starting with yourself first. And we hear that all the time, right? Everyone's like, oh, you got to take care of yourself first. You got to make sure you're this. You got to make sure you're that. But when you're in 1 year, 1 month, 1 week, it's a long time if you continue to keep doing it and doing it and doing it. So it's not sexy in any way, but you have to do it. And really, I'm doing it for myself. I'm not doing it to get the claps. I'm not doing it, oh, yeah, you did this, you did that. I'm doing it for myself, right? I'm 44 years old now. In my opinion, the new flex in my 40s is health.
And I could not agree with you more. There are people who are successful,
right,
that have no health. What can you do? You can have Steve Jobs, he had everything.
Sure.
His health is gone, he's gone.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so how do you lead your people in that way? Is it just because you become like the 5 people you're around and they do what you do?
Well, I think, there's a bunch of different people that I lead. It's not just my real estate team. It's my family. It's my kids. It's all these other people. I have friends who we try to push each other to make sure that we're doing our best, right? But I'll give the example of, leading the team. So I lead by example. I'm not this micromanager, and I'm not the type of person that's going to be hovering over you. Hey, did you make your calls? Hey, did you set this up? I'm going to remind you to do those things, but I'm going to lead by example. So if you look at my team, especially the guys, right? Most of the guys are in a suit every day. Most of the guys are not. I don't even think anybody right now on my team is drinking a whole lot, if that, right? Javi is completely sober.
Yes.
Hector just finished 75 hard with me, so he has been sober. He doesn't drink a whole lot anyway. So that's basically what I'm doing, is I'm trying to lead by example, and then they're seeing the path that I've taken, and then they're trying to do the things that they're seeing me do, so that they can better their life, right? Mario is one of the guys that's been on my team for a really long time, and he has pretty much made it a lifestyle. He has completely changed his life by following some of the simple things that I've implemented, and now he's doing it, and he works 2 jobs. He's my top agent on my team. He also has another full-time job. He is training jiu-jitsu. He does wrestling or jiu-jitsu tournaments. He has 2 kids. He has a wife. So you got to be very disciplined and very focused to be able to juggle all that and still be a top performer in everything that you're doing. He's winning tournaments every weekend. And this guy is very dialed in. But when I first met him, he wasn't like that. Avi, when I first met him, he wasn't like that. Right? And so they're seeing the things that I'm doing, and then they're wrapping their head around what does success really look like? Well, not to say that David isn't trying really hard, but if David can do it, I can do it. That's kind of how I look at people too, that I look up to. It's like, well, that person is human. If that person can do it, why can I do it? Right? So, and I'm sure people look at me and say the same thing. We got a big target on our back. Everybody's trying to chase us. I love that, right? I'm all about competition. But every time I hear people talking, everybody's gunning for me. Everybody's gunning for us, right? And that makes me feel really good. At the same time, that's not what I'm worried about anymore. I'm not worried about that. I've gotten to a point in my life where I really don't care. If you think I'm cool, awesome. If people really know who I am, I'm going to give you the shirt off my back and I'm going to take care of you, right? That's what I like to do. But there's some people that look at us as a completely different facade, and me personally, because they don't really know who I am. They just see, that I have a Porsche and live in Tanawan and think that, I have all this because I have rich parents or something.
Yeah, nothing could be more different. We
Right.
have so many commonalities, it blows my mind. One I won't talk about now, but Delilah told me something and I'm like, wow, that's the exact same with me. But we both grew up basically in the projects.
Sure.
So to go from that to here, you have to leave people behind.
Sure.
How does that work? How does that happen when you're in growth mode and they're like, oh God, you're leaving me. No, you can't go. That's scary. Don't do it. How do you handle that?
Well, I think, you have to be able to, be in your own skin, right? And so I have some friends that when I get with them, we talk about the past because that's all they remember. And I've been away from them so long that all they can talk about is what we used to do, right? That's really hard. That's hard for me because I want to be in the future. I want to be talking about what's next. And then I have some friends that are talking about what we're up to, what we're doing, what goals they have, what we're going to do this year as a crew, right? So those are the types of friends right now that I'm trying to surround myself with. And so it's really hard when you have to let somebody go. But I think at the end of the day, as long as you set the proper expectation of when you're in the moment with them, right? You're going to talk about the past a little bit with one of your friends, but you're not going to spend a lot of time with that person if they're not trying to elevate themselves or try to elevate me.
Gotcha. Yeah. So it's very important. So at your stage, a lot of people who cannot possibly wrap their head around your life and the way it is probably don't understand your need to continue to grow. Like what you already have it all. What are you doing now to grow?
Well, I think that I'll use 2023 as kind of an example, right? And this is a little bit about what I talked about when I was speaking at the stadium, at Dallas Cowboy Stadium.
It was so cool.
That was pretty cool. Even though I'm not a Cowboy fan, that was awesome.
He had to get that in there. He just had
to feel the energy of that stadium coming out of the tunnel. We were very blessed, to be able to get down there on the 50-yard line, go into the end zone. But to feel that type of energy is really awesome. I don't know that anyone will, there will be people to be able to experience that, but I don't know that I will be able to experience that again.
Right.
Especially at that stadium. So that was really cool for me, right? But I think at this point right now, I'm not trying to impress anybody by trying to get to the next stage. I'm just trying to see if I can do it, right? I'm just trying to see if I can do it. And last year, I have never gone backwards. In the last 10 years, I have always done better and done better and done better. And last year, I went backwards because last year I thought that I can completely open and get into a completely different business that I really didn't understand. And truthfully, I wasn't really passionate about. And that was a very big eye-opener because I put a lot of time, I put a lot of energy, I put a lot of effort into something else. And I quickly realized that it wasn't my one thing. It wasn't my passion. It wasn't what I needed to focus on. So it was a very big learning lesson for me, right? Yes. And I feel like I took an L last year. Not like financially and like anything like that. Like we still did very well in terms of real estate, but I feel like I put a lot of time and a lot of energy and a lot of effort into something that just didn't work. And that was really frustrating for me because anytime I wrap my head around something, I usually figure it out. And, I didn't figure it out last year. And so it was kind of weird. It's kind of a weird, big lesson that I learned, but an awesome eye-opener.
That's the thing, is it is a lesson. The price you paid, you can actually quantify.
Right.
This was the price I paid for this lesson. And so I would think that lesson is something that you are going to value till the day you die, more so than any other.
Well, and I think that that's probably not the last L that I'll probably take.
It better not be. That means you're not trying.
Exactly. So I think that, for one reason or another, God puts people in your life. For one reason or another, God allows you to go through the struggles and the frustrations for you to learn. But if I didn't go through that, then I wouldn't have realized, wow, real estate has really changed the trajectory of my life. Because it really has, And so now I want to be the leader for my people so that they can understand to remember what it takes to get there. Because honestly, I am not doing anything different than anybody else, and I never have been. I've just been trying really, really hard, and it feels like I'm in Groundhog Day sometimes. You know that? Remember that movie? I wake up, I do the same thing, I eat the same thing, I go to the same thing, right?
So success is boring.
It's super boring, but it gets me up every day, it motivates me every day, and it makes me want to be better. And so I think that that's the biggest lesson that I learned last year to this year is no matter what, you got to keep going. I don't have anybody to fall back on. If something happens, bless my parents' heart, they will do anything they can for me. But if something happens, especially something major financially, I don't have anybody to back me up. So I have to be that person that takes care of my temple to the best that I can so that I can try to be there as best as I can for everybody else and myself.
Dude, I am so excited because you're already on fire and a completely sober, healthy man that's not putting poison in his body every single day. Sure. And I'm not trying to be rude. It's just a fact, right? It is. And I'm not on a soapbox about it or anything, but I recently quit as well completely because of this ring that tells you what your body likes and doesn't like. And it's very, very obvious your body at least this body, hates alcohol, hates it. And so now, oh my gosh, David, like, wow, you've already accomplished all this, and now you're doing it from a whole different. What do you see in the next 2 or 3 years?
Yeah, I'm very excited about this year because I'm very clear-headed. So the team's going to get the best, David. I just recently hired a coach. She's going to get the best, David. And one of the cool things about Delilah is that Delilah, as I get into all this craziness, she follows. Delilah hasn't had a drink, I think, since maybe Halloween, right? Delilah's been going to the gym. Delilah's been reading. It's not me saying, baby, this is what I'm going to do. You need to do it. She's just seeing that I'm doing it, and she's just following the path that I'm doing it, right? Guys, anybody who is with somebody, make sure that you have your significant other who is constantly going to grow with you. And that was a conversation that Delilah and I had very early on, was that we got to stay growing. We have to stay growing.
Preach it.
We have to keep going. We got to keep faith. We got to keep God. Those are the things that are really important to Delilah and I. And so it's important to our kids, and it's important to our family. But, she's doing a lot of the things that I'm doing. And it's really cool because now she's growing. She's unlocked so many levels in her life by just us being together. It's been really kind of awesome to watch, right? But it's really cool because I'm not like forcing her or telling her, hey, you need to do this or you need to do that. She's just doing it because I'm doing it and she's watching me do it, and now we're doing it together.
Woo! Power team. And also, tell me some of the things that she's brought to your life.
Oh man, I'm a very structured guy, right? And she's kind of like, we went to therapy for a while just to see how we can blend our families. And the therapist says, David, you're a square. Everything has to kind of fit inside your box, and when it doesn't, it feels really weird. Delilah, you're a circle. So Delilah just kind of goes with the flow, right? So she's allowed me to kind of understand that it's okay that something doesn't have to be perfect. It's fine, right? It's okay that it doesn't get done that specific way as long as it gets done, right? She's probably the most patient person I've ever met. It's crazy. She doesn't go crazy one way or the other. She's always very centered. She's always very right in the middle, but she has a lot of patience. She has a lot of patience with her clients. She has a lot of patience with other agents, with her kid, with my kids, with me. So it's really cool to have her in my life because she's taught me a lot of things, but I think she's taught me how to be patient. She's taught me that going to the same place over and over is like, hey, let's go check out some more spots, right? If you know me, I all eat the same thing.
That's true.
Go to the same hotel. I like what I like.
Mm-hmm.
And she's always like, let's go try this. Let's go do this. Let's go do that.
She's expanding you.
She's expanding.
And you're expanding her, and that's the beauty of it all.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'd be remiss, and Shannon would probably kick my tail if I didn't ask you a little bit about the fact that you hired a coach. You haven't had a real good relationship with a coach ever.
I really haven't, only because we almost become. I want to be friends with my coach, right? And Shannon and I have been able to become friends, but I feel like every person that has ever coached me, and I've tried it a couple of times. I've tried it twice. I've had 2 coaches. I feel like anyone who's ever coached me, we just turn it into a conversation. We don't really necessarily stay on track. We're at kind of the same level in life or production when it comes to real estate. And so I'm not really getting anything out of it, right? One of the cool things about Shannon is she's teaching us a new system and a new process in order for us to be able to chunk down what we need to do on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, right? Mm-hmm. And she's holding me accountable. But this time around, it's with Delilah and I. So the cool thing is that Delilah is keeping me on track too, because she is, she's really involved in actually wanting to learn it. And it's not just me and a coach talking, chit chat, whatever, or me having the full coaching call, not really writing anything down, and then not implementing anything because I'm sidetracked.
Okay, so you say that you haven't ever really had a coach, but you've also talked so highly about Mike.
Yes.
Would you consider him a coach?
Oh, for sure. Mike Carter was the biggest mentor that I've ever had.
Okay.
So he was definitely my coach, right? So I guess I did have a coach. When I got into real estate, I jumped on a team. I don't know how long have you been in real estate?
Same exact time as you have.
Okay. So do you remember an agent by the name of Carol Hartman?
I do remember her
She was
name.
Coldwell.
Okay.
Right? And so Carol was actually my first mentor, and she took me under her wing for about 11 months, and she taught me basically the ropes for 11 months. And then when I went out on my own, I had a meeting with Mike, and then Mike basically said, okay, you know what? I'm gonna take this guy under my wing. And I think that with Mike, he really knew. Mike's been mentoring and being around people a really long time. I think he kind of knew, this guy's 22 years old. I think I can prime him. I think I can get him going. I think I can guide him in the right direction. And so he really taught me a lot about not just real estate, but how to carry myself. You know, he showed me kind of the finer things in life. He took me to the best places, took me to the best hotels. And one of the things that he always did is he always took care of me, right? He always took care of the bill. He always took care of anybody that he was around, tab. Like, he was just always that guy. And it's crazy because I do the same thing. You know, anytime we go to dinner, anytime
you get a little
I take
bit
my
angry
team,
sometimes when somebody pays.
I just kind of like
They like sneak the credit card out, and he's like, "What?"
I just like to do that because it was done for me, right?
Yeah.
It was done for me. And so as we're now leading people, I'm telling Javi, I'm telling Mario, I'm telling Delilah, I'm telling some of the people who are the next up and comers, hey, it's going to be your turn sometime, so enjoy it. Let me take care of it, because then when our kids, if Jeremiah's 18 and he's, you know, in a suit and he's trying really hard, you take him to go get his shoe shined. You take him for lunch. You take him for coffee. You have a contest if he's on your team or he's still part of our world and you're still in it and you're running my business. And you're taking care of my guy, right? It's you got to take care of the next person. So I think the biggest person that has had the most influence on me in terms of real estate is by far Mike, by far. You know, I don't talk to Mike much these days, but I'm still seeing Mike do it over and over and over with his people because he's the best at it. He's the best I've ever met at it. And probably to this day, you know, he probably hasn't skipped one beat. I don't hang out with him much, but I know that guy's slick.
Yeah, he's an amazing leader in our industry, and we
sure.
respect you very much, man. Everybody I know respects Mike. I think if they have a problem with Mike, the problem is theirs.
Sure.
And so I had this epiphany while you were talking, because I know you so well, and you said, I've never had a coach, yet we just pulled out 2 coaches before coaching was a thing.
Yeah.
Right? So here's the deal. Now you can have that mentor, and you don't have to be fortunate enough for them to pick you and decide. You can pay to be in the room.
Sure.
So when have you ever paid to be in a room?
Oh, a lot.
Talk to our people about that a little bit.
I paid a lot of money to be in the room. I was part of this group called the Arte Syndicate, and that's Ed Milet and Andy Frisilla, and I was actually part of their group for the very first year. Yeah, it was really an interesting group. That was the first year that I wrapped my head around wanting to get to 7 figures. That was the first year that I said, I'm going to make $1 million this year, right? For many, many, many years, I was doing very well financially, but I didn't really have the right people around me to start thinking bigger. I was basically a peanut inside of a room of guys doing 8 figures, 9 figures.
Woo.
You know, it was really, really cool. And then I really got into more of the mastermind model. And then I started getting into the boardroom. So I got into the boardroom for 1 year. That group was $30,000 a year. Arte Syndicate, that group was, I think at the time, about $2,000 a month. And it's a 1 year commitment. And so those were groups where, you know, I was a nobody. I was just trying to get myself around the right people. So I think that's really important, is that making sure that you pay to play. Make sure that you get yourself around people who are doing better. Make sure you get yourself a mentor. Make sure you get somebody who you want to model. You don't have to be exactly like them, but make sure you get yourself somebody who has a bigger vision than you. I think that's why a lot of people stay on my team, is because my world is so big that they can build their world inside of my world, right? So I want to try to keep my world as big as I possibly can. So that they can continue to feel like they can keep growing and growing and growing inside of my organization. And so there's been people who have been with me for a really long time. There's people who have been with me only for a couple of years, right? But every person, for the most part, that has been inside my organization right now is still doing so good because I feel like we're teaching them the right way. You know, we're teaching them how to actually go out and do the business and get the business. And I think that that's the most important thing when you have a mentor. It's not about, hey, pay me money and I'll show you and tell you what to do. It's making sure that you get around the right people, and then all of that stuff will come if you're paying attention to how they run their life.
So how do you find those people?
Well, for me, a lot of it is through like kind of social media, right? I'll pay attention to people who I am listening to through podcasts. Then somebody is a guest on their podcast, and then I'll start following them. So a lot of it for me is through social media and just paying attention to the people that I'm attracted to. And then they'll be a mastermind. Because if they're a good speaker, they're going to be speaking at something else. Then this other person's going to be speaking. Then this other person's going to be speaking. And then you're all of a sudden signing up for a mastermind, and you're going and hanging for 2 days, and you're listening to these guys talk. And that's how I've gotten myself into the rooms, is going to these masterminds, meeting people. It was really crazy. We saw Jesse Itzler speak at one of our RTA Syndicate events a long time ago, maybe like 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago. And in 2022, we were sitting in a room with him.
Oh my gosh, David.
Yeah. We were in a back room with about 30 people, him and Sarah Blakely, the lady who just sold her company, Spanx, right?
Yeah.
And we were sitting in a back room with them.
Wow.
Just having a conversation and having a small mastermind. That's crazy. That's wild, right? But I had to join the group so that I can meet the people, so that I can get myself in the room, so that I can go to the next opportunity and go to the next mastermind. And then before you know it, I'm sitting in a room with the people that I look up to.
So you have to also model what they do. So I think a big barrier to success, a huge one, is I want to be me.
Right.
That's not me. I want to be me. Speak to that a little bit.
Well, I think you want to be yourself, right? You want to be authentic, and you want to make sure that how you run your life is the way that you want to do it. But I think that if you have somebody that you look up to, or if there's somebody that you feel like you want to get some information out of, don't be afraid to ask them for coffee, ask them, go to their mastermind, pay to be in the room, to be around them. It's funny, a long time ago, Joan Giovanni, I hope I'm saying your last name right, she asked me to coffee, or she asked me to lunch, and I'm like, sure. And she's like, oh my God, I never thought in a million years that you would come to lunch with me. I'm like, oh my gosh, Joan, what are you talking about? She's my girl. Like, we hang all the time now, right? I love that girl.
Yeah.
But she felt like she had to have the courage to ask, right? So if there's anybody listening that is looking up to somebody, don't be afraid, because most people want to go to coffee. Most people want to do the podcast. Most people want to go and talk to your company or your team or whatever the case may be. So don't be afraid to do that, because I'm never afraid to do that, and it's gotten me into some awesome opportunities.
Amen. I can back that up. I have never had anyone say no.
Right.
Never. Like, never. And I've asked people that were like crazy, and they always say yes. So part of the reason I think maybe knowing that you might not is then they're afraid, well, what if I fumble and I look like an idiot if I'm with the person?
I mean, if they're nervous and they're freaked out, then I'll just start asking questions. Make them feel comfortable.
Yeah, you'll be safe. You'll be safe.
I'm a realtor, right? So I'm in appointments all the time. I'm sitting down. Yesterday, Hector and I were in an appointment, and we're sitting down in this guy's living room, and he's laying down on his recliner in his pajamas, and we're just doing a presentation, and he has all kinds of stuff in his living room. He's getting ready to move. He's this older guy, and he's like, I'm gonna leave the front door open, just come on in. And he didn't really get up. And when he got up, got in his walker and poured himself some water and sat back down. And so if you're not confident in your ability to be able to ask questions, then the appointment would have went really weird. Right? Because I didn't know what to expect. He didn't know what to expect. And before you know it, we were happy. It was cool. We were talking about all these different things not pertaining to real estate.
There you go.
So that's what was really interesting about how we ended our conversation.
Sure. You have to be real with people. So, leadership, who are some of your favorite leaders that people could follow on social?
Well, I'm a big Ed Milet fan. I think you know that.
Me too.
Right? Ed Milet is a person, in my opinion, that is running his life in a very amazing way, right? He's he's a godly man. He is great with his family. He's connected to his kids, and he's connected to a lot of people. I've really been interested in Brendan Bouchard lately. I've been listening to a lot of his books. I've been kind of paying attention to a lot of what he's doing. I think he's a really amazing life coach experience. There's people that I look up to that are in the entrepreneurial world, and then there's some people that are not, right? And there's people that right now I just want to be able to look at and say, okay, I like this guy's style. I think he's doing the things that I want to do, but then I'm kind of doing my own little twist. I don't really want anybody to ever, at least myself, I don't want to feel like I'm trying to be exactly like that same person, because then you're never really yourself, and then, you're doing some things that you might not necessarily be doing. So, I'm looking up to a couple people, but I'm kind of carving out and changing and doing the things that I need to do for myself in order to get me to where I want to go.
Right on. Everyone has something to teach you.
Sure.
Sometimes it's what to do, and sometimes it's what not to do.
Sure.
So we've got to be open to that. Any last words of wisdom for our folks?
I think that, I think 2024, just go into 2024 with a clear head, a clear focus. And if you had an amazing 2023, keep pushing. If you had a really weird 2023, it's a new year. Everybody has a clean slate right now, right? Challenge yourself to do some things that maybe you're not comfortable doing, and see where that takes you. Because if you have your mind right, if you have your health right, if you have your mentality right, and you're wanting to grow, that is unlocking the next level.
That's it right there. Thank you, David.
You're welcome. I appreciate you. Bye, guys. Thanks.